and the main focus of interest for the vast majority of people who are not online or too behind in the news or the methods of the day to really understand what online is about. But it definitely has a crossover, and this is where it really plays out in terms of the elections. That people will just start saying, this is what it means. And for those who are not online, not exposed, and don't know the dynamics, it becomes gospel truth about what it all means and why it's significant. And in the end, of course, it's about getting people to the voting precinct and making sure they cast their vote and that the vote is later on counted. And you will see, of course, that this is particularly true now. It only really started in 2007 for the senatorial elections. This is perhaps the first presidential election where everyone has really sort of devoted a certain amount of resources to it in terms of putting forward, getting volunteers, giving information, setting up regional networks and branches. But to me, if you were to ask what the significance of social media is for the 2010 elections, it is that it's become what I call a political petri dish. It is the incubator. It is where the messaging, the methods, the information, disinformation, the propaganda and counter-propaganda are market tested before launched or unleashed on the larger electorate. The advantages of doing this is because it can be done very quickly, it can come and go and leaves very little trace. It's reactive, it can basically try to see if anything will go viral, and if it does, then it will cross over to mainstream media. And it relies more on the preconceived emotions or notions or biases of those being experimented with, who are the voters, the opponents and supporters of individual candidates. In the end, there's something that came out just this morning in the column of my colleague John Neri, which I think says it very well and completely. And as he put it, oh, they were able to fix it. We're just going to shrink this. Basically, he says that the advantage of social media and the internet in general in terms of our elections is it's a gray area open to exploitation by the candidates without their having to worry about Howie Calleja and other people from the PPCRV trying to impose their interpretations of the law. And as he puts it, what online does very well, even here, is to create buzz. It's not really a tool, according to John Neri, for really converting undecideds. And I think you have seen this particularly in all the Twitter fights and the Facebook fights and all the fighting going on online. No one really changes their minds. And it's not a way for raising money, because a society that does not donate to churches does not donate to candidates. But it's good for creating word of mouth. It's good for spreading rumors and ideas, and to pique, as he puts it, public curiosity and interest. And finally, it's cut off here to drive the old media. It becomes a source of news in itself and creates mini headlines, second page stories, inside page stories about the candidates at a time when everyone is trying to find new and novel approaches to reporting the news and the elections. So in terms of the 2010 elections and the social media, I think it's basically a lab. We are still evolving it, and this is really an interesting time because things are really being attempted for the first time in our political history on a scale that's unprecedented. It's proving to be an effective incubator for influencing public opinion, or actually, to be more accurate about it, to influence media perceptions. And it is all about the quest to find that political patient zero, that one person you can touch either by Twitter or Facebook or any other form of social media, who has the capacity to make something go viral. It's about finding that person or creating that person. But basically, social media is not what we assume it to be. It is not a reflection of the broader Philippine electorate. It is the breaking up, the chopping down, the slicing, dicing, and isolation of portions of that electorate. And therefore, I don't think we should suffer from the illusion that it will lead to broader movements. It is good for consolidating, in a sense, opinion and morale among those who are already committed to whatever cause, but not to engaging a very much larger portion of our society online who may be online but do not follow the news, do not really focus on the news, and are at best maybe only passive and occasional consumers of the news. To end with a quote from Jan Lanier, who gave the sort of framework for this. Whenever we comment about TV shows or major movies, commercial music releases, etc., there's nothing wrong with that. But basically, the people who are pouring their time, resources, knowledge, and skills into doing all of these things on social media are basically killing their own seed stock. Since everything is being given away for free, basically, things have lost their intrinsic value. And because things have lost their intrinsic value, they can be trivialized and just be made of the moment. And it's a very sort of damning opinion that he's put forward that you might want to explore. So I'd like to close with that, and thank you.
So we'll reserve the Q&A for Manolo and Arlene and our next speaker after this talk. So I'd like to call